Hi there, I'm Louise.
And I'm Andrew. Welcome to Toddlers, Teens and Inbetweens.
Now, peer pressure looks very different now than when we were kids. Not only do children feel pressure at school, but now they have the added pressure of social media. And not to forget the pressure from parents and even teachers that can easily burden them. I'm sure we're all guilty of this.
So what does peer pressure really look like for children? Well, today we're joined by Olivia, Max and their friend Aiyana, who are sharing about their experiences with peer pressure. And from this, we hope to better understand what our children are going through so that we can be there to support them, encourage them, and help them to be resilient when pressure comes. Hey, thanks for joining us today, guys. We've got Aiyana and we've got, of course, Olivia, my daughter, and Max, my son. It's going to be a great chat today, and we're talking about peer pressure. So, Max, why don't we start with you? What comes to mind when you think about the words peer pressure?
Peer pressure. What comes to mind is the expectation or forcing someone to do something they maybe don't want to do. But in a way, it's not forcing them, but it's just putting the pressure on so that they feel like they almost have to.
Right.
Maybe to adhere to a trend or to fit in, that kind of thing. Yeah. Or mainly to fulfill the other person's agenda who's pressuring you.
Yeah. Right. Have you ever experienced peer pressure, Aiyana?
I feel like when I was younger, I'd give in to it more so. I feel like especially going throughout secondary school, I guess you want to kind of fit in. I guess you're kind of finding yourself, so you want to fit in with the crowd, fit in with your friends. Like if they're going one way, you want to, like I was saying, just fit in with the crowds, like do what your friends are doing, because you don't want to be the one who's left out.
Right, exactly.
So if they'd be like, oh, let's go to this place, let's stay out a bit later. Oh, there's no point telling your mum it's fine. You kind of like, you want to like just give in to your friends.
That probably didn't end well for you, did it?
No. Got my telling off, so I've learnt from that.
Olivia, what about you? Peer pressure. Have you ever given into peer pressure? Any experiences of peer pressure?
I feel like I'm quite like strong-willed, so I don't give into peer pressure as easily, but definitely at school. Even with things like what people are watching, you feel like you need to watch the same TV shows to fit in, to be able to have the conversation. Even at work, like if everyone's talking about a TV show, you want to watch it so you know what's happening and you can keep up with the conversation.
Yeah, so you don't feel left out.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the pressure, isn't it? Usually, usually the cause of peer pressure is because you don't want to feel on the outside. You want to feel like you belong. And that's when peer pressure can come into play, even for the most strong-minded people, I think. And I think even when you're small.
Well, I was going to ask, when does peer pressure really start? Because, you know, is it toddlers, teens, or in-betweens? When does it start? You've all been, right? You've all been through all three seasons.
You know, from as young as toddlers, I think.
Can you remember?
Or you just... I've got bad memory.
But I probably, for example, when we were younger, we would watch TV and I would tell Max we have to watch the girly TV programmes. So he would watch them.
You would give in to Olivia's peer pressure.
Yeah, he still does it now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's more of a guilty pleasure now. But I think there's a difference that we should establish between peer pressure and just pressure, because like what you were saying, the pressure to be with the trends and know what TV shows are popular at the moment, that's not necessarily peer pressure, because it might not be people pressuring you, that's just a problem you have where you want to fit in.
Right.
But I think peer pressure comes in when it's maybe a group of friends and you're the only one not doing something and they want you to do it and they're pressuring you specifically, and that's when it's peer pressure when other people are pressuring you. But I feel like sometimes it can all be in your head, and sometimes there's just a pressure inwardly where you just want to fit in. But that's not as a result of anyone else, but that's just you.
It almost, peer pressure takes it to the next level, doesn't
Exactly.
it? It's almost, you feel like you'll be treated differently, or they'll look down at you, or even not be friends with you if you don't go along with what they're doing.
Yeah.
But is this really a big thing? Because we hear a lot about peer pressure, or is it overhyped? Do you think it's all hype, or is it a real thing?
I feel like peer pressure, it kind of comes within ourselves. Like, I feel like most of our friends, if they're good friends, they'll still accept us for who we are. So I feel like it's all in our heads sometimes that, oh, if I don't do this, they won't be happy with me. But most friends are quite understanding. That's what I've noticed over the years, because I used to feel like, oh, I have to do this to fit in. But be honest, for some people it might be really bad. It depends on the scenario, really.
Can you remember any scenarios when you felt really pressured to do something by your friends?
Probably it's just like throughout secondary school, like going to like some parties when they're like, I'd be like, I need to go home at this certain time, and it's just saying, stay a bit longer, it's fine. So it's just kind of like that. I feel like as a child with my mum, she was quite strict, so I feel like I was quite obedient to that. So when I said I bend the rules a bit, it's only like, for me it was a big deal, but to others, like, you only bent it a little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
What about you, Max? Can you think about going through, I mean, what sort of things did your friends put pressure on you?
Well, I think definitely because I was raised in a Christian home and I'm quite a strong Christian and I don't really shy away from
Strong
that.
Christian, what does that mean? As in,
like, I don't really
big
shy...
biceps?
Yeah. I'm one of those strong Christians. No, it's just I don't really shy away from my faith or what I believe in or my convictions. So I think it was more when it came down to the values, and I often say I don't think it's hard to be a Christian, but I think it's hard to live like a Christian.
Right.
So it's not hard to say I'm a Christian, I believe in God, because no one really cares now, but I think it's harder to live out the values and the convictions of what it takes to be a Christian, especially as a teenager. So when it came to, you know, a lot of my friends were going out and getting drunk at parties every Friday night, but then I had youth ministry. So then it was like...
Did you tell them, I've got to go to youth at church?
Yeah, and they think I'm weird. They're like, oh, can you not miss it 1 week? And I'm like, well, no, because I'm a leader. Like, I serve, and then I remember a couple of times I say to you, Ken, I'm like, nah, you can't miss it.
You can't miss it, yeah.
But that was when I was younger, and it was a non-negotiable, and it got to the point where everyone just knew that Friday nights I was at youth. So my good friends who wanted me to be at the parties would specifically do it on a Saturday night. But then on a Saturday night, I couldn't stay out really late because I had church the next morning, and I was often on worship team.
So relatable.
So then I'd go home at like 11 maybe, and they'd be going into like 3 a.m. And you know, so it would be certain things like that. So then the pressure came in when I was maybe younger, when people didn't really understand it and were saying, you know, come to this party, come on, just miss 1 week, and then I'd start getting in my head about it.
I think I remember us having a conversation, Max, because I remember you saying to me, because you are such a social person and you do love to hang out with your friends and you're a real extrovert. And I remember us having that conversation and you saying, it is really hard, Mum, because I'm the only one. I'm the only one. How did you feel in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know Olivia wouldn't find it as hard because she's very just independent and doesn't really care what people think. But
I would say you're independent as well.
I am independent, but I have severe FOMO, so fear of missing out.
I'm quite happy to have a night in.
So you're happy to miss out?
Yeah.
But like with me scrolling through everyone's stories, seeing the party, that would just like kill me.
Me, I'm like, do you know what?
Olivia was more, when she was going through school, especially in the older years, she was more, I need to go to this party because otherwise everyone's going to think I'm weird.
Yeah.
Like, I need to go. I don't really want to go, but I'm going to go because otherwise I need to kind of just, my friends are going to not want to be friends with me because they think she never goes anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
But Max was more, I really want to go and hang out.
Yes.
And I think the thing is, when you're at school, a party might have happened Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You come back Monday morning, especially in sixth form, like you're in the common room. That's what everyone's talking about. What happened at the party?
Exactly.
So if you don't know what's happened, then you just sat there being like a wally. So.
Yeah.
And
Did that happen to you, Aiyana?
I always felt like I tried so hard to make both work and I get so tired. Like I think, I'll try and stay out at this party on the Saturday night and then I'd have to wake up so early for church the next day. So I'm literally drinking coffee, putting so much concealer on just to try and do both. But the thing is, it's just finding a balance, really.
Yeah, it's a fine line to walk, isn't it?
But that's why it's so good we also had like youth on the Friday, because it also helped me stay to my convictions more. Because I feel like I had the group of friends around me who would support me with that.
Right.
So I wouldn't feel pressure to like miss it or anything.
Yeah.
Do you think it's harder when you're a Christian with peer pressure, or is peer pressure just peer pressure no matter who you are, what you believe?
I think peer pressure is
Does your
peer
faith
pressure.
help you with peer pressure?
I mean, I think it makes it harder because you know that if you don't stick to your morals, your parents might not be there, but Jesus is always there. So,
It's watching you.
yeah, exactly.
He's watching.
Yeah. So I think you just probably feel a lot more convicted than if peer pressure's there no matter what, but if you have those Christian values and that faith, then
it's more of a big deal, isn't it?
It's more of a big deal. And you have that, you know, if you are a true Christian, you have that conviction of, I shouldn't be doing that. Whereas if you didn't have that Christian faith, you might do it, feel bad, and then be like, oh, well.
But I think having the Christian faith also does help because if you're set up in a church and a youth group, you have a network of people who are going through the exact same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So when we first started the church, I found it hard because there wasn't many youth at church, and I didn't really have many Christian friends. But once the youth ministry grew and I got some really good Christian friends around me, we're all going through the same thing and the same struggles at school. So we
you
can
could chat with them.
We can come on a Friday night and say, "Oh, I really wanted to go to this party," but then when we have the
We're
conversation,
here together, yeah.
exactly.
And I think that helped you in that moment we were talking about, where you did feel like quite alone at school because everybody was going one way and you were going the other, and you did feel the pressure.
Yeah.
Is that what helped you?
Definitely, and having great youth leaders around me to kind of be accountable to and be open and honest with really helped as well.
Right.
And like you encouraging, if we are upset about something, it's like, go and hang out with your church friends, go and hang out with them, encouraging those friendships, because sometimes you don't want to make friends at church, or you've got your school friends, so why do you need more friends? It's good if you encourage us to go and hang out with them, you know. Why don't you invite some people over? If you help to facilitate it, then the friendships will happen.
It's when you're being forced to do something by someone. No, I have no idea.
Isn't it when someone else pressures you into doing something that you don't want to do? Like a classmate or a friend or a family member?
I think peer pressure is a bad thing because no one should force you to do anything unless you want to.
Sometimes it can be good because it can be something that you don't want to do but you kind of have to do, and your friends are saying, come on, just do it, and like kind of encouraging in a way. But peer pressure can sometimes be bad because it can be making you do something bad.
Because you're being pressured. If you do it wrong or if you don't do it, your friends are going to be really mad at you and probably like not play with you. No, not really. I feel like I've pressured Zach to like play football with me, or like saying you have to do this or making him feel guilty.
Well, we were out biking at this place called the Ups and Downs with loads of hills, and my friend didn't want to go down the hill, but I kept on saying, just do it, come on, it'll be really fun. And then he ended up doing it and he really enjoyed it. So I think that was a good example of peer pressure in a way.
I'll just keep on asking them until they said yes.
How do you think that made them feel when you were doing that?
That I'm annoying.
Do you mind, or do you just want them to do what you want them to do?
No, I don't really mind.
Once I really wanted to get something from the shop, I can't remember what it was, and my mum said no, and I just kept on going on and on and on. And then eventually my mum let me. So that's like a bad type of peer pressure.
Sometimes, but not all the time. Can't really remember.
I think with our church, because my mum and dad run it, it's kind of pressure to help in church and always be attentive and listening all the time, and sometimes it feels like you can't mess around at all. There's kind of a pressure to be up with the style kind of and be with it.
Sometimes, no. Well, I feel like sometimes it's good because you can have someone to look up to, but in a way, no, because I feel like I can wear what I want. Like if I want to wear a football kit, I'll wear a football kit. I'm not really bothered. It doesn't matter what movies tell me, I'll listen to myself, thank you very much. I'll just say no because they can't really tell me what to do, and I have a right to say no. I'd say, guys, stop doing this, I don't want to do it, leave me alone. They're not very good friends if they're going to peer pressure me to do stuff. Or if they refuse to, I'd say, I'm in charge myself, you're not in charge of me, I'm older than you. I would tell them that you don't need to be scared if someone tells you what to do. You just need to be respectful, but also you need to think, are you gonna listen to this person? Because are they telling you to do the right thing?
I think I would tell my younger self, just don't listen to anyone. Find some good friends that you know are gonna give you good advice and not bad advice, and then listen to what they say.
So just talking about a parent's role in this, because we've touched on this a little bit, but you know, what role does your parents play, Aiyana, in peer pressure? Would you ever talk to them about that? Would they know you're suffering from peer pressure?
I feel like, especially when I was younger, I'd feel a bit scared talking to my mum about it because she'd be like, you know your faith, you're a Christian. I kind of feel like ashamed of it in a way. It's like I should be stronger than this. So I feel like I kind of got like all caught up in my head.
Yeah. Would you feel under pressure talking to your dad about it?
I feel like I'm more of like, I go to my mum about things like this. I'm both a mum and a dad's girl, but I feel like about these things I go to my mum about.
Right, right.
I think because things have changed, sometimes perhaps we don't understand what peer pressure is in this, you know, in the modern day.
I think that's true because, again, it's like when we were teenagers, if you didn't go to something, everybody might be having a conversation, but it's not like it was on social media. Or if you didn't get invited to that party, you might not even know about it. But now you see it on people's social media, and so there you think,
so
I said no to that and now I'm really left out and I wish I hadn't said no. And I know one thing we said to you, Max, wasn't it, that when we had started to have the conversation about you going to these parties where things were maybe ramping up a little bit, I remember us saying to you, you know, you can go as long as you can stick to your convictions while you're there and not give in to peer pressure. How did that kind of work for you?
Yeah, I think that really helped. And I think if we're going to the parents' role, I think what really helped me was the fact that I knew you guys would kill me if I did.
We just give in. What I mean, literally kill.
Not physically.
Not physically, but you know, like you'd be very disappointed in me, and the fact that you weren't really soft on that kind of thing, and like before I'd established my own convictions, it was a bit of healthy fear that helped me stay on the straight and narrow.
Right.
So the fact that you weren't just like, oh yeah, do what you want, you know, you'd make your own decisions in my early teen years. It really helped me in my later teen years to be like, okay, now I've found out for myself.
Right.
That's a great point, Max. I was thinking about the in-between years, you know,
Yes.
the toddler years, and we got the teen years. The teen years, you've got to have your own conviction, right?
Yeah.
You've got to know what you believe, what you want to do, and be able to say, actually, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But those in-between years, like Zach and Jackson, they're coming through our other kids. You know, we've almost got to be their guardians to a certain degree. Would you agree?
Right.
Yeah.
And even Will, he's 7 turning 8.
7
I
turning
think it
8.
starts there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's having that conversation from early on about if they do give in, because Will could be at school and give in to peer pressure. You know, not leaving someone out in a game, not letting someone play with you because your other friend said they don't like them.
Yes.
It's helping them early on to understand why we don't do that and how you can, you know, be your own person, because Will can then go, well, you know, I don't think that's right, and that will help him later in life.
Yeah.
So you guys are all youth leaders in some respect in the church world, or have been. What advice are you giving to the in-betweens and the teens when it comes to peer pressure? I mean, what are you saying to them?
I think I would say definitely just listen to your parents because they know best. And I think
But not every parent knows best.
Yeah, but even if you don't think they know best, they want the best for you most of the time.
Right, good.
The only thing is with that, sorry to go in, but I was talking to a parent once who was actually asking me what I thought were healthy boundaries. What if the parent is a bit relaxed with that and doesn't really, it's like, oh, well, it's okay, whatever.
Then hopefully they're watching this.
Yeah.
No, but I would say in most circumstances, listen to your parents. And if you're smart enough to know that maybe they're not the best, then listen to your youth leaders. Listen to someone you trust who's a good influence on you.
Yeah, and a role model.
A role model. And because even if the decision they're making for you or the guidance they're giving you isn't what you want to hear, I promise you, and when you look back in the long run, it's definitely the right thing.
Yeah, definitely.
What about the classic? What about the classics? What would you say are the top 3 things that, as a Christian teenagers and in-betweens, you're going to face? What are they? You talked about partying.
Yeah, I think definitely partying.
There's nothing wrong with a party, right?
There's nothing wrong with a party.
Max loves to dance in the middle of the dance floor.
Exactly.
Probably with some bad dance moves.
But I decided that I wasn't going to drink until I was 18, just because I didn't want to, and I thought it was irresponsible. And I don't think I've decided not to get drunk either. And people thought that was weird because I'd be the only one not drinking at the party, but I'd be the most lively. People would be like, are you sure you're not drunk? I'd be like, yeah, I'm fine.
You just had 4 Diet Cokes, it's fine.
Exactly. So everyone would then, it became a bit of a joke that, you know, everyone would make sure they had fizzy drinks at the party because of me. And so I think definitely drinking and also sex before marriage and that kind of thing. As a Christian, I know it's not as much as if you're a non-Christian, but as a Christian, that's a big kind of deal, especially if you are in a serious relationship as a teenager, maybe with someone who isn't a Christian. Then you may feel that kind of pressure.
Yeah.
What about you, Aiyana? What would you say the big things are?
Yeah, like a pressure would be like getting into a relationship like really young, even when you're not ready. Because sometimes it felt like your value was like placed on if you had a boyfriend or not, how many guys you could be talking to. I feel like everyone would like base it on that, so you'd feel like pressure like just to talk to someone for the sake of it when that's completely the reason not to. But then you're so immature, you don't think about it. You're just thinking how you can like fit in.
Right.
So you basically go out with some really ugly boys when you're young.
I never actually had a boyfriend, actually.
Oh, come on.
Oh, wow.
I definitely think as youth leaders, you see a lot with the girls that we see that, people are just desperate for a boyfriend because they think that it's going to validate them.
You've got to have one.
And their friends are pressuring them into it because if you're the only one in your friendship group that doesn't have a boyfriend, then what's wrong with you? And what are you doing on a Saturday night, sat by yourself?
Yeah.
And the conversation doesn't stop here. Join our Facebook community for more insight from parents and also live videos each week to answer any questions you may have. We're also on Instagram, so there are loads of ways for you to stay connected.
And of course, by going over to our website, you can access articles that we really hope will inspire you, educate you, and support you, as well as being able to find out about some really, really cool online training events.
Have you lost friends because of peer pressure?
I think if I have, then they've definitely come back. It's never been like I've genuinely lost friends from it, but it will be like they might get mad at me because I don't do something they want me to do, but they realise in the end that they were in the wrong. So
I think as you get older, you get a lot more perspective of like being at school, doing these things isn't the be-all and end-all. When you finish school, you're in this big wide world with different people that you're meeting, and actually everyone's more accepting of, oh, you don't drink? Oh, okay, no problem.
Right, yeah, it's true.
in a way, I found it easier once I got older, because I think once you get to sixth form, everyone's just like, whatever, do what you want.
No one cares.
Yeah.
We are in a world where
admires you for saying.
Yeah, everyone's like, oh, I really respect that actually that you don't drink. I'm
yeah,
like,
you are. We're in a
I've been
world
doing it for
where
years.
it is becoming more acceptable to be different and to have your own values, and people are like, oh, actually, fair enough. If that's you, do you.
Yeah. So we do have to really help those in-betweens and early teens.
Yeah, I think that's
to
what it
really
is.
develop their values and know that it's okay to not do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah,
Don't we?
exactly.
We really have to focus on them.
Yeah, and find it out for themselves, not just do it because their parents do it. I think that's what was key for me. And because then when people ask you, well, why? You think, well, because my parents told me to, or because I heard it at church. No, I think the last thing I say is because I'm a Christian, because I want to rationalise it and explain it from a different point of view, because a lot of these things that God's laying out for us and kind of rules are actually beneficial to us outside of the fact just because you're a Christian. They have benefits, and once you explain that, people are like, okay, actually, I understand that.
Right, yeah, that's very, very true.
Brilliant. So like I said earlier, you're all youth pastors, you're all kind of youth leaders. We need I want to leave all parents watching with some really practical advice, and we've had a few good ones, but I want some really practical advice. So parents, when they finish watching this show, they think, wow, I've got some stuff.
Yeah.
Aiyana, what would you say?
Is this for parents?
Yeah, for parents.
How can they help?
I know parents don't normally listen to you. You've got a captive audience on the screen.
I'd say spend time with your children, really. It's from a young age, because when they get to the old years where they're getting peer pressured, they need your trust. You can't just get trust like straight away.
Right.
Like trust is built over time. So you need, from a very young age, I think, like when you can, like spend time with your children, speak to them, so not get to know what they're going through. Because I guess you can always, you can always ask like, how's your day? But actually get to know like, how is their day? You don't want just the standard answer of good.
Yeah.
Like we're not saying like get all up in your kids' business, because I know that can get a bit annoying. But it's good to know that you're cared for.
Right,
So when like these situations do come up, like your children are comfortable to speak to you.
So build trust, build the relationship, but as early on as possible.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Olivia? Anything?
I would say encourage them to build those friendships in church, because I just think it's so important to have friendships in church and Christian friends who are going through the same thing.
Right.
That's right.
And sometimes the kids can be like, oh, I haven't got any friends, or, I hang out with them at church, but I don't see them the rest of the time. but you can help that. Say, why don't you hang out with so-and-so? Why don't you have all your friends from church over this Friday night?
Which takes a big effort on the parent, doesn't it?
That's
Something you're really good at.
Yeah, you guys are really good at. If we ever say we want to have our friends over, you're like, yeah, sure, why not? And
Because
if we're
it's so
Christian, we're
important.
probably having some more, we're being good and we're not breaking anything, we're not partying drinkers, so it's fine.
Exactly, it's great.
I think my advice to parents would be just don't be afraid to put your foot down on certain things and establish strong family values from an early age, so that's kind of ingrained.
What do you mean? Give me an example.
So, for example, talk about sex before marriage and talk about why that is a non-negotiable, and talk about maybe if you don't want your child to have a relationship till they're maybe 16 or a certain age, establish that.
Got a personal story on that one, right?
And make it non-negotiable. And with drinking, talk about if you don't want your kids to drink till they're 18, tell them that and make it a non-negotiable from an early age so that they know.
Right.
Don't be afraid to put your foot down, even if they think it's unfair at the time.
Yeah, I think for us it was very clear of how we were supposed to. Yeah, the expectations. If you live in this house, this is the expectations of how we want you to live your life. And so I think that was important.
And the children are going to listen to that?
No, not always.
You put the food on the table.
Yeah, keep going.
I also think it's important to come from a place of love with it, and saying you want the best for them, not like this is the rule, this, because I feel like going through those years, you kind of want to bend the rules a bit. So yes, it's good to put your foot down, but also like how you communicate it is such a big deal.
Yeah, true.
So true.
You want to know that your parents are on your side.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So trust, love, values.
Christian friends.
Christian friends. This is brilliant. And I know it's going to help a ton of parents watch us. So thank you so much.
Yeah, such a great
today,
conversation.
Guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. We really hope that you've enjoyed this episode.
And don't forget to check out our social media, go to our website. You can read great blogs and there's really, really good information about some really cool training events.
We hope to see you next week for the very last episode in this season of Toddlers, Teens and Inbetweens.
We're going to be joined by Max, Olivia and Aiyana again as we talk about keeping the faith. No parent wants to see their child wander from their faith or walk away from God. So how do we navigate the challenge of parenting children in their faith journey?
So we'll see you next week, same time, same place for the very last episode.
We'll see you then.